Escape!
So I set my course, my battle begins. There's no mistaking this feeling. I feel no remorse, no I can't resist. I'm breaking away.
So y'all probably wondering where I've been, because I went through this weird phase where I was like making reviews like multiple times a week and actually putting out content on a regular basis, and it's like, Darkness, where'd you go? Or should we call you Edge Rabbit? We don't even know your real name anymore. And I understand that there might be questions surrounding this, but recognize the simple fact that I was violently ill for the last 2 weeks, and I'm just now getting over it, okay? It happens. That being said, I am better. Here I am, doing my usual thing, and today I decided to start off with something that I like, and not ask you guys what to do, because otherwise you'll make me do something that I don't like, and we're trying to avoid that right now, preferably forever. But let's talk about Ape Escape. What the heck is an Ape Escape? What does that even mean? The apes, they've escaped, and yeah, in layman's terms, that's exactly what happened here. The apes, they've escaped from the monkey park, and you gotta get them, you gotta catch them, and they're being led by Spectre, and he's gonna go back in time and change the course of history so that apes will be the masters of the universe, and not man. And if that sounds like a lot, okay, let's start at square one, shall we? Ape Escape was kind of a, you know, a niche market. Like, Ape Escape was never mega popular. I mean, it has its fans. I'm included in that, certainly. And it has multiple games in the series, and Spike was also in PlayStation All-Stars, which was nice, except for the fact they made him look horrible, and what is that? That's not Spike. Spike is supposed to be cool, and no, I don't know what that is, but that ain't Spike. But anyway, that's not the point. We're talking about Ape Escape on the PlayStation, and I am totally going off on too many tangents right now. What is the deal with Ape Escape? Well, it's a 3D platformer where you run around and catch monkeys. That's literally the whole spiel. You are going through a time travel plot where apes have taken control of the professor's time machine, and Spike gets caught in the sort of shockwave going back in time, and because he's sent back in time, the professor tasks him with stopping the monkeys that have already gone back in time anyway. So he has to run around and try to catch these things before they change the course of history. Now already we're playing fast and loose with time travel logic, because okay, the fact that they're already back there means that they've probably already done the thing to change the course of history in some other such timeline at some point. It doesn't really make a lot of sense from a logical perspective, but this is not the sort of game, like, it takes itself a little bit seriously, but not so much that it's very anime. Let's go with that. It's very kids anime. And it's a fun game to run through a variety of different environments, and catching apes is surprisingly fun. And believe it or not, the plot is, well, silly, very engaging. It helps that Spectre is an amazing villain. Dude, this little white monkey is such a baller in the original Ape Escape. He comes, like, just comes on camera just to mock you, to say that this is a complete waste of time, that he's already won, and now apes will rule the world. This guy doesn't care. It's fantastic the way he's voiced and written. I love Spectre. He's one of my favorite villains from any game ever, at least in the first Ape Escape. They kind of ruined him in the sequels, but in the first game he's pretty top-notch, actually. Now, visually, the game is actually very impressive. For an original PlayStation game, it looks quite nice, but it's much like Mega Man Legends in that it goes for the full anime style to it, and while I don't think it looks quite as nice as Legends and Legends 2 wound up looking, it still handles the style in a really good way, to the point that it has aged fairly well for PlayStation standards. It still looks pretty decent. It's certainly nothing high-res or incredible, but it looks nice enough, and the visuals are colorful and nice to look at either way. The music also is amazing. This is one of the best soundtracks you'll ever find on a PlayStation game, and I will stand by that. This is a great game from a musical perspective. As for the gameplay itself, well, this is where things get kind of weird. I've already kind of explained that you're running around in a 3D platformer setting trying to catch monkeys. Okay, but here's the question. What are the controls like? Well, let me explain. Ape Escape is unique in the PlayStation library in that it required the DualShock analog controller. Some of you may know that the PlayStation didn't originally ship with the DualShock analog controller. It had a controller that looked like this, which just had a D-pad. And when I first got a PlayStation, I had a DualShock controller, but I didn't actually use the analog feature because, mind you, my entire life up to that point, I had been using D-pads. I'd played the original Sega Genesis, I had a Game Boy, both of which had D-pads. And the PlayStation came with, you know, these weird DualShock controller. Again, I got it late, and my hands were smaller. Like, I was still a kid, so reaching over like that to use an analog that I wasn't accustomed to just didn't feel right. It probably didn't help that I was playing games like Tomb Raider that really didn't benefit too much from an analog control scheme because of the way they were set up. But Ape Escape came along and completely changed the notion and basically forced me to learn how to use an analog stick, because it, again, required the use of the analog. You literally cannot play this game without the DualShock. The case even warns you about this, and that is because the game's controls are set up specifically to utilize the analog sticks, both of them. Using the left stick, you move around. That's probably a given, but you can also use L3, pressing the stick in, to crawl on the ground and sneak up on monkeys. The right stick is where things get a little more interesting, because the right stick controls any kind of move you do with your various gadgets. Spike gets a variety of gadgets throughout the game sent to him by the professor. Some of them simply are used by pushing the stick forward or backward or side to side or any direction, and Spike will attack in that direction. The stun club and the monkey net both work in this manner. But then there's stuff like the helicopter gadget, which I forget the name of right now. That's not what it's called. But it's the helicopter gadget, the thing that he twirls it and he flies. It's really cool. It's one of my favorite gadgets in the game. Well, to do that, you have to spin the analog stick. There's also stuff like the slingshot, where you pull back the analog stick and release it, as well as an RC car that you again use the right analog stick to control while you're moving Spike around independently. This, for the time, was an incredibly innovative idea in terms of gameplay styles. Nowadays, this wouldn't be anything super special. Although admittedly, even to this day, not too many games focus on using a combat system on a right analog stick. You know, really, it's kind of shy away from that, because sometimes it doesn't work out. But in Ape Escape's case, it worked out quite well. And again, this was really cool for the time, and it basically forced me to get used to using the analog stick, preparing me to play future games that would, again, require the use of the sticks. Past the original PlayStation, I think pretty much all PlayStation games didn't really use the D-pad at all. And then you had 360, and really every console nowadays focuses on the analog controls, where if I hadn't gotten so used to Ape Escape, maybe I would have had a little harder time transitioning, who knows. In any case, this was very cool for the time, and you're probably wondering, well, how do you do things like jump and select your weapons or anything like that? That's easy. Jump is R1, which sounds weird, because it is, but it works surprisingly well, and you actually use the face buttons to select your weapons. You can customize which gadgets are equipable from the face buttons at any given time, and I do think you're doing this quite a lot in the game, because there's only 4 options and there's quite a few gadgets, but still, the quick select idea was a good thought, and it works pretty well for the most part. You won't run into too many situations where you need, like, all the gadgets to get through a level or anything like that, but it is still something to note that in the later levels you will have to kind of switch which ones are selectable, and maybe you'll just select one out of the pause menu instead of putting it on the face buttons at all. Pick your poison, it's whatever. Anyway, the gameplay centers around you sneaking up on the monkeys and catching them in your net. The net is probably the only thing you'll always keep on the face buttons, because it's pretty much the thing you're going to need literally all of the time. The only way to catch a monkey without it is if you're in the water, but since that's a rare occurrence, you're going to be using the monkey net pretty much all the time. So basically, switch out any other thing but that. As for level variety, well, that's pretty insane because we're dealing with a time travel plot. So, you know, we go through levels with dinosaurs, we go through levels in the Ice Age, we go through levels with historical landmarks, it goes on. And they got kind of weird with some of these levels in a way that I question as a history buff because it doesn't make any sense. And I'm gonna bring this up now. And I understand that I'm nitpicking something really dumb in a children's video game about catching monkeys. I realize that. I recognize the issue. But I'm gonna do it anyway, because you'd be upset if I didn't. So the zone after prehistoric times, you know, with the dinosaurs. To begin with, I had an issue with the dinosaurs area because that was supposed to be a T-Rex, but it clearly was not a T-Rex because it had too many fingers, and that's a problem, and I'm gonna complain about it. But then after that, it goes to the time of, as the professor puts it, the jungle ruins, right after the dinosaurs died. Alright, so humanity didn't come along until the Ice Age, which is like 2 zones past this. And in between there, there's the zone where most of the planet's covered with water, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be before dinosaurs existed. And okay, who the hell built these ruins? I don't know. What? Wait, that's did the monkeys already change time? The professor's just, I don't. That's not, the people weren't around to build ancient aliens? What's happening? Okay, I know it's dumb. I concede that. I'm being very, very nitpicky right now. It's a fun game, and they're fun levels. But it bothered me even as a kid. I was like, that's not how that worked at all. It also drove me crazy that, so it set up the whole time travel plot thing, right? Well, like, by the time you get to the end of the game, Spectre seems to just completely abandon that entirely and just takes over present day. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I know Spike has already been on the case for a while, but Spike is like 10 years old. Like, dude's a totally awesome 10-year-old, no question. But he's 10. Does the present day universe in this time not have, like, police or the military or somebody to stop the monkeys and UFOs? Anybody? Like, nobody? No, we're gonna leave it up to the 10-year-old with the monkey net. It's an interesting universe, but okay. Like, I'm not saying that the game is bad because of any of this. I'm just saying don't expect, like, Shakespeare out of this plot because it doesn't make any sense if you think about it for any length of time. It's only good because of the characters involved and the fun it has with the concept. It's great to run around, catch monkeys, explore the levels, get collectibles. There's even bonuses to unlock if you get all the collectibles. And you only get the true ending of the game if you catch all the monkeys. It's a fun game. And I would highly recommend it if you haven't given it a try. The original is my favorite by a considerable margin, and I would play it any day of the week if I had to. Actually, I would play other games too, though. I wouldn't want to play it all the time. I mean, it's a great game, but I wouldn't play it all the time. Who would want to play the same game all the time? Literally all the time? Like, seriously? Like, even my favorite games of all time, I wouldn't want to play it all the time. No. You're gonna get bored eventually. It will happen. So, till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.